we all want growth, right? We want growth personally. I want growth for my community, for my city, for my country. We all want growth, but of course, companies want growth as well. And the thing is, growth looks different depending on what stage of a company that you're in. These are two co-founders starting a startup. They look at growth in terms of scale, how they can scale their product, their team, how they can scale geographically. Large companies look at growth in terms of agility. How can they adapt to a quickly changing marketplace around them and stay flexible? The way that you design for scale is actually quite different than the way you design for agility. The whole point or purpose of designing for scale is to get to scale, is to reduce the friction around whatever you're trying to do, create, sell, and scale it, right? Scale it geographically in most cases. So a convenient example for me personally is the Coca-Cola Contour bottle, which is what we call the glass bottle. And this is typical amongst everyone, every company. There's a time of exploration, right? And same thing with Coke. So these are different forms of the package that occurred over several years. But here's where design comes in. So in this case, design is used to reduce things. In this case, simplify, standardize, and integrate various components of that package so that it could be scaled to what's today over 200 countries around the world. This is 1929 in Beijing, China, actually the first time the company went into China. And you can see how the company did this. So again, one package, the Contour bottle, was standardized in 1915. We're celebrating our 100-year anniversary, in fact, this year. This familiar script logo, we call the Spencerian script. You can't see it because it's black, but this is Coca-Cola red. There's a specific color red that we call Coca-Cola red. And also the price, they used one price for almost 70 years. The equivalent of a nickel, 5 cents US, was used. And this is how they simplified and standardized and integrated those components together to scale. And that's exactly how you use design to scale. And then just some quick numbers, just to give you a sense of how it worked. Today, the company, in fact, has $20 billion brands. I do a lot of work with startups, and all of them want to be a unicorn, a billion-dollar brand. It's quite fashionable these days. But the company, in fact, has $20 billion brands inside of its portfolio, Coke just being one of those. Local in 200 countries, 500 brands in the portfolio, over 700,000 employees worldwide, 24 million customers. So anywhere you buy a Coca-Cola or another one of our products is a customer of the Coca-Cola company. And then 1.9, almost 2 billion servings a day. So 2 billion times a day, someone partakes of one of our products. What happens when you reach that kind of scale, whether you're Coca-Cola or any other large company, and there's a massive disruption in your world. So whether that's a startup or a new technology or a big macro trend like aging baby boomers, these things are very disruptive, and this has elicited a whole host of certainly books around disruptive innovation and these types of titles. You don't need to design for scale. In this case, you have scale. We need agility. How many people are familiar with Legos? You know Legos. Yeah, so I have 3 daughters. If you have children, you probably step on them as I do every day. If you don't, you remember playing with them. But it's a system. And in fact, they have 2 sets of elements. One set of elements we call fixed elements. And those are the familiar set of core bricks that they have in every set. That's the first fixed element. And the second is how they connect. So that familiar locking mechanism that they connect. These 2 things haven't changed for 50 years. What has changed is, and how they stay adaptable, are these components. So in this case, if you're into Harry Potter, you can buy an additional set of bricks to add to your core set of bricks to create Hogwarts Castle. And they have many different sets of bricks like this, and this is how they keep up with changing tastes and trends over time. And this is, again, just to illustrate the fact that they have both fixed and flexible elements. That's Legos, it's a toy company. Now let's connect it to how we do what we do at Coca-Cola. One challenge that we have is this one. So how can we be smarter in a constantly changing marketplace? How many people are aware that we are actually the largest juice company in the world? A couple. Most people don't know that. We're the largest juice company in the world, but as you can imagine, juice is not a formula. In fact, it's a recipe. No one knows exactly what kind of fruits are going to come out of the ground or be produced. It's a natural product, right? So we don't know exactly how the supply is going to be created year to year. We also don't know exactly what the tastes are going to be from country to country. Again, we're in over 200 countries. Some people like their juice, different combinations of juice that others don't. Some like their juice thick, some like their juice thin, some like bits in their juice, some people don't. So Juice is actually quite dynamic as a product category for us. So how do you use this fixed and flexible elements, this designing for agility approach, in our case, to juice? Well, when it comes to packaging, we use it this way. So we have these elements, just like the Legos. We have these branding elements that we use consistently across every country, every form of packaging in the portfolio. And the pieces that are flexible are actually the brands that we have. So we actually have many brands of juice that we use around the world competitively and to, again, expand our portfolio. And of course, we have many different types of fruits and vegetables that we can use depending on the supply. And so just to the right, you can see that we actually can adapt to almost any size package, any kind of ingredient, and that gives us incredible agility as we move from market to market. Another question, how can we operate faster in new developing markets? So for us and other companies, developing markets are a huge opportunity for our company. So Ho Chi Minh City, sometimes the biggest challenge we have is actually getting our product to the shelf, the physical distribution of our product to the shelf. And so imagine trying to drive a big red Coca-Cola truck through that crowd in rush hour. Ain't going to happen, So what do you do? And if you go just a few miles outside the city, imagine trying to get a big red truck down that, to cross that bridge. Not going to happen. So we use this approach. And in fact, the fixed elements in this case are our products. We use a crate, the same crate, to deliver to our customers. Again, our core set of customers. Those are fixed. That's what we have to do. We have to get that product in that crate to that guy. But how we get it there is quite flexible. We use bicycles, you can see donkeys, carts, motorcycles, mopeds, yes, and big red trucks to get it there. And this has actually allowed us to be quite flexible and gain market share quite successfully around the world. Anyway, so that's how we can actually move into, again, developing economies and move quite quickly and capture market share. Last example, how can we be leaner with innovation? I work with one of the largest companies in the world, and I can tell you, every large company is asking themselves this question. Because, again, like every other company, we know our industry. We know the beverage industry. We created many of the categories inside of that industry. So we know that industry quite well. But when you look at fast-growing startups who are developing or leveraging new technologies in new spaces, new business models, there's a startup out there called Slack. They launched 7 months ago. Now they're already valued at $1 billion. They're a $1 billion company in 7 months. How does that happen? How do you do that? So we asked ourselves that question and, in fact, used the same approach to that. So in this case, the fixed elements are we decided to work to partner with proven founders who had created companies before, had a big exit, successful exit, sold their company, or more likely had a big failure or two or three. But proven founders, experienced founders. We also focus on what we call shark bite problems, and that has to do with the pain. We feel that if a founder can actually find a solution to a shark bite problem that a lot of people have, they can create a big business around that. And what I mean by shark bite problem is if a mosquito bites me, I have some level of pain around that. If a shark takes a big portion of my body away from me, that's a whole nother level of pain. So we focus on shark bite problems, and that's a fixed element. We also connect these founders with people inside of our business, senior level people inside of our business who act as advisors to help them navigate inside of a large company that we have. And we also use metrics and milestones, like every other company that does this, to measure progress and growth. Those are fixed. Those never change. What's flexible are our assets. The first one up there is just brand Coca-Cola. But we have assets inside the company. We have relationships with almost anyone. In other words, we could pick up the phone and call the CEO of Walmart just as easily as Bono, right? When we have these types of relationships, global relationships in every industry across every country. And then we're technology agnostic. So we don't care what technology they use to grow a business. It's totally up to the founders. How they grow their team is completely up to them. They're their own independent startup. They're not employees of the Coca-Cola company. And then just the financial vehicle we use is a convertible note, so that once they reach sustainability, we can convert our investment into equity. And to date, we've been doing this actually for the last about 18 months. And we've launched, well, this year we have, in the current portfolio, of about 11 startups, 11 different cities around the world. And we've created this global network of entrepreneurs to get after this opportunity. Yeah, so same approach, same design approach, using the same, let's say, Lego-like approach, but creating completely new businesses.
Do you think, in your role, that we should be training more people in design, but specifically some of the things you're talking about here, how to scale things up, how to identify fixed and flexible elements. Do you think that's something that should be part of a broader, almost a liberal arts education?
I have to say my focus is on helping companies design better. I've chosen that as my career path, so I love that. So in my context, I'd say all business managers can actually be much better designers. And we all can be better designers, but in this context, learning how to use design to scale, if you're in a early stage company, or if you're in a large scale company, learning how to use design to be more agile is available for anyone. Again, I don't feel like you have to have the word design in your title to take advantage of that. But for me, design is all about holistic or systems thinking, connecting that to design and understanding all the interrelated issues that are involved in a solution or problem. Wicked problem is another way to think about that. But from that perspective, yes, I do feel like everyone has the opportunity to be a better designer.
One of the things that you've talked about, in the scale and the agility and being able to pivot, is something that I think lots of people will be thinking about, but most people will be thinking it's all well and good if you know you want to do that, but how do you create buy-in in an existing organization to be allowed to do that? And I wonder if you can talk a little bit about sort of some advice for people who are thinking, well, how do I do this when you don't have an organization that already sees the value in it?
I'd suggest that most senior level positions or people that reach senior level positions inside of companies didn't reach them by failing quite a bit, right? Normally failure isn't associated with rising to the top. But in this case, I think just to take a lesson from the startup community, there's a phrase out there called failing fast. And so, as you know, what that actually means is learning fast. So founders inside of startups are often working in uncharted waters, using different technologies that launching new products or services that don't exist. So for them, failing fast is just a form of learning. And I think once you make that mind shift that you don't look at it as failing, you look at it as learning as fast as possible, so you use the least amount of time and money to get there. So that's a big learning, I think, that could happen inside of most large corporations. Second, to your point, is I think you have to be very open and transparent with the process. So I think oftentimes inside of large companies, there are small, innovation, skunkworks teams that go off in a corner somewhere, and you don't know exactly what's happening over there, but they're doing something innovative. I think that's a huge problem. And if you are engaged with the startup community at all here in London, we have a huge scene here. You know that sharing is part of how they work. So sharing developers or contacts, just being very open and transparent is something that we can all learn from the startup community. And I think that goes hand in hand with viewing failure as learning.